Next up, we're gonna bring up Sabrina. We're gonna go into house hacking, flipping. Seems like we have some interest here. Can we please give a round of applause to Sabrina?
Real estate as a whole there's amazing value as far as like retiring your family, giving your kids opportunities to go to college, maybe things you didn't have. And even with all of the positives, there's a lot of positive information in this room. There's a bunch of shit that you have to get through sometimes to build the portfolio or to build your future, especially when you come from little to nothing. So if you guys don't know, I took my fattest L in December 23rd, 2024. I lost every dollar that I had made in the 5 years prior stacking real estate. I come from nothing. When I was 16, I had 3 jobs and worked my way into college, got into a degree, fucking hated that job so much. And then I went on a spree of how do I get myself out of this job? I've done Amazon FBA, I've done Shopify, I still do YouTube, but like I was a Twitch streamer, so I played video games and chatted to people. I've done everything in the book to try to get myself out. And then once I started in real estate, the first house that I bought, I made $110,000 after living in it for 2 years. And after making no money in all those other arenas, I was like, okay, real estate's the way to go. So then I did it again. And that first house was in California. Second house was in Arizona. And then I was like, okay, I need to learn more, do more in real estate. So I stacked up, moved to Washington. I did a bunch of flips in Tacoma. And the house that took me out was in University Place. That house was... I thought I was going to live there forever. So there's a couple issues with that house or things that I did that I want all of you guys to know so that you don't do the same thing. So one, when I bought that house, I was like, I'm living here forever. It's got a little pond in the back. I'm going to rent out the basement. I'm going to renovate the basement, which was more of the kicker. It was a just shell of a room, and I turned it into a 2-bed, 1-bath, full unit, laundry, kitchen, everything. That project cost me, it was supposed to cost me, I should say, $70,000. It ended up costing about $110,000. And in between living there, life happened and I ended up back in Arizona and I had to sell that house. So a house that I thought I was going to house hack and live in forever ended up going on the market. When it went on the market, I did not know, because I thought I was going to live there forever, that septic tanks will take you out. And this one in particular, a septic tank was rated for a 2-bed, 1-bath house. And I had converted the basement and I was listing it as a 4-bed, 2-bath house. So immediately Washington came and red tagged it. And when you're selling a house with a red tag on it, all of your traditional home buyers are going to run for their lives. So it was on the market for, I think, 3 or 4 months. An investor ended up coming and buying it. My house that I was supposed to sell for $750 ended up selling for $560. I had a $485,000-ish loan on it because I was living in it. And I also had $70,000 of private money in that house. So once I sold it, I was able to get my private money investor her money back, because that was the most important part to me, is like, I'll take myself out, but I'm not taking somebody else out with me. And that's it. I had the biggest mental breakdown of my entire life, because at that moment, I already had gone through divorce, me single mom, and I had to move back to Arizona and with nothing, like with literal nothing. When you have, when that happens, you go through a little bit of a identity crisis, because you're like, what did I just do? Like, was I ready for any of that? And I wasn't, I can tell you that. It took me a very long time to get out of that mental space of restacking. I've done hard money since then, and only recently, after about a year of just like, what did I do? Getting back into it. So I'm actually working on a flip right now. I'm doing wholesales. I put a wholesale together in Ohio. But needless to say, that one house kind of gave me like a gut check, ego check. I thought I was going to be there forever. I thought I was going to make $250,000 when I walked away from that house. I was like, septic tank, like, it'll be fine. Like, everything's always fine. It'll be fine until you get red tagged and you're stuck. So yeah, that one was my biggest L, my hardest L. And not to say that you should give up on real estate because you can take big L's. I think anybody in this room who's been doing real estate more than 2 or 3 years, like, you're going to take your L. It just depends on how and when. And the important part is getting back up from it, starting over again, rebuilding again. My plan now is very different. Before, when I was doing all the flipping I was using all my own money. So I would stack up money, I would do a project, I would make usually 80, 90 grand, take that money, do another one project. And that's also part of why I got taken out, is because all my money would be in one project and I would be stuck. What I've learned since then is if you use private money or you have a partner or something like that, that it will help you scale faster. So if I had taken that L and let's say I had 3 or 4 other things going, it wouldn't hurt so bad. It would, like Ralph was saying, like you need 3 subways before you're balanced out. Kind of the same thing I feel like with flipping. If you're gonna use that as your main source of income, it needs to be more than one at a time. And I learned that the hard way. That's my biggest L. So let's just leave that there. I have made lots of money in other projects before. But even with every other project, there are good and bads to each project. So this project is the first house I did in Tacoma when I had moved here. I moved here in December. I was getting divorced in January, literally. We're like, yeah, it's not gonna work. In May, I was living on my own as a single mom, and then in, I think, June or July of that year, I got this house, was brought to me by a wholesaler. It's on the east side, so it's like mostly good, like, you know, it was a good flip margin house, but not a good hold house. For this project, even though I had to fire a GC, I had literally like druggies come to this house with a machete threatening my GCs. I had windows broken by homeless people. I had to build a fence on this project, which was not part of my initial plan because of all of the people who kept coming to the house. I probably called the cops about 4 or 5 times with this one. My 3-month timeline turned to 6 months. The GC that I didn't even technically fire him, like he just kind of walked out on me because I was not following the pay, I guess, schedules, pay structure you should have with a GC. I was paying him little bits of money as he would ask, like, hey, the sheetrock's done, I need $500. And I'm like, yeah, sure, here, Venmo. And then at some point, he started showing up less. And then I was like, why is he not showing up? And then I added up the numbers. I only owed him $2,000 of that initial budget, but he owed me like 10 grand in work. So there's no incentive for him to finish the job. So I had to find a handyman. I ended up finding a handyman because other GCs don't like to come and finish somebody else's work because they're liable for that person's work. So I had the hardest time trying to find another GC. I ended up with a handyman. But needless to say, with all that shit, the cops and the budget, my budget went up from 90, I want to say it was 95,000 to 125,000. Because once we pulled the drywall out of this house, we realized the siding was actually nailed into the 2x4s, and there's supposed to be layers. There's supposed to be moisture barrier. There's supposed to be that thin particle board wood, and there's supposed to be something else. And then the siding, So that was probably 15 grand. The fence that I had to put up was 5 grand. The neighbors in this area, that makes me so nervous. I'm just talking about the neighbors in this area. They knew that I bought the house, and when I started construction on it, they used my house as like a dump site. So every time I would go check on the project, there would be more trash that wasn't mine. Literal trash bags. People were just like dumping it on my front lawn. So like my demo / trash out bill went up 5 grand. Everything on this house except the roof was done. New windows, new drywall. I moved plumbing, updated electrical, everything. The laundry room was moved. But needless to say, $200,000 purchase price. My 95 went up to 125. I ended up selling it for 425. And this one, after everything, I walked away with about $80,000. So, like I said, in the real estate, the shit comes, but you can still make it out in most cases. So this is the house, I call it the trap house, because that's what it was. But that's what it looked like after. So even though they're like nasty, disgusting, this house literally, the mom and the grandma, which the grandma was like in her 80s, the mom was 50s, and the son was in his 30s. The son and his girlfriend were living in the shed in the back of the house. The son was bringing in recycled pieces of metal, bikes, rims. There was like a broken down boat in the yard. There was washing machines, dryers. Like, I've never seen so much stuff in one house. There was literally like 1 foot walkway to walk through this house to the 1 bedroom that also had shit in it, but they had a mattress on the floor. So the grandma and the mom were sleeping together in the same bed. The son and the girlfriend were in the shed. The entire house, it had mold, it had rats, it had literally like filled to the ceiling shit. It was disgusting. This is probably my worst. I would say this is the worst one I've ever done. But that's what it looked like after. So when people look at projects and they're like, "Ew, it's dirty," I'm like, it's not that dirty. This one is technically the first traditional flip I ever did. This one's actually in Arizona. This actually came from a mailer. So depending on what you guys do in your prospecting, or if you look off market, I do cold call, I do mailers, I get deals from friends, I get deals from wholesalers. I get deals on the market, so any avenue the deal will come, I'll take it. It's a good deal. But this was my first flip in Arizona. The kitchen was there. There was cabinets there, and we uncovered all of that once we took the cabinets out. That wall that's right there, we took that wall down. This house actually had scorpions in the walls, so we had to get pest control a couple times. The junk removal guy who came had a scorpion climb up his pant leg, and he was out for 2 days because he got stung. This was lovely. This house turned into this. This was a 216 purchase price. My $30,000 rehab budget turned to 60 grand. Because on this one, I was like, I'm going to do a full burr. And my full burr numbers only equal 30 grand, so I'm only spending 30 grand, even though there were scorpions climbing in the walls. This is my first one, so yeah. That one doubled. In the time of it doubling, I had to find money to finish the rehab budget because I took out the hard money loan only for the $30,000, so I needed to find another 30 to finish the deal. So I ended up closing. I'm licensed in Arizona. I closed 2 houses in the time of this one so that I could finish the construction. I also had to fire a GC from this one, so that's fun. Hired another one. What else happened? Oh, this one, I learned that a lot of the older houses in Arizona have ACs on the roof, and the owner of this one upgraded the AC, but they did not upgrade the structure of the roof with the AC. So when I got it inspected, when I was already in contract to sell it, they had to have a structural engineer come out, and they basically said that the AC was too heavy for the roof, it was gonna fall through. If I wanted to not have an AC fall on somebody's head, that we would have to move the AC to the ground, do a concrete pad, and then repair the roof. That was a $15,000 that I wasn't ready for, because the AC was new and nice and worked, so I didn't think anything of it. So yeah, that one. This one was also another 3-monther that ended up taking 6 months, and I ended up selling it at $385. So even this one with double renovation budget, firing GCs, scorpions, AC almost falling through the roof during the inspection period, I still walked away from this one. I want to say it was $84,000 from this one. This one this is also another Tacoma house on the east side. That's actually the owner. So this lady, this is part of my I fell in love with this lady. She is like in her 70s, which you would never guess looking at her. She's a masseuse. And my cold caller at the time cold called her. And her husband passed 6 months prior to this, and she just wanted to get out of the house, and like she just would see her husband in the house, and she just wanted out. So I fell in love with her little story. She's so sweet and nice, and she wanted $300,000 for this house in Tacoma, and I knew that I should have bought it for like $270, and I had asked her like, 300's tight. But if you could do like 280, 270, that would be amazing. And she's like, no, I need 300 so I can buy this house in SoCal. I think it's Palm Springs, or where do people go to retire?
Palm Springs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she went there. That's where she went. She's like, I'm already in contract in that house. If you give me my 300, it will literally cover that house. I will sell this house to you. And I was like, oh, I just want her to live her new life and like go to Palm Springs. So on this one, I also was decided I was not going to do as much rehab. I was going to cut my rehab budget so I could pay her more money, which I did. And when I walked through this house, it was messy, but it was nothing scary. So I looked at the floors and I was like, okay, I can just refinish these floors. It'll be fine. There was this weird, you can kind of see in the picture, but this weird add-on that my husband had did that I was like, oh, I'll just turn that. That was my 3rd bedroom. The other 2 bedrooms in the house. It'll be fine. I don't really need electrical. So I had cut my budget down to about 30 grand on this one to make the numbers work at the 300. I was wrong. So when we started emptying the house, every spot of floor that was visible was clean and good and nice. When we moved all the furniture, I don't know who went in there, but there was like paint splattered all over under the floor. I couldn't save these floors. So my plan to not replace floors ended up being a $10,000 budget increase. That side room, which had power in it when I walked the house, I did not realize it was powered by an extension cord. There was an extension cord running from the laundry room to that room, and it was all just extension cord, and they had hung the light bulb from the ceiling. So I didn't know, but once the house was empty, the contractor's like, do you want the electrical done in this room? I'm like, what do you mean? There's electrical there. No, there's not. There's an extension cord. Like, oh my God. So that was probably another 10-ish grand because I had to wire that whole room. And I had to upgrade the panel because of it. But needless to say, that one also sold for $415. So that one, I think I made 20 grand on. So I still walked away positive, but it wasn't what I was anticipating. I was anticipating close to 50 grand on that one. This is actually a picture of the house hack that took me out. So it's like so beautiful, so nice. That house was literally that's the basement also. So that was just 2x4s and cement block and cement foundation, and that's what it turned into. But yeah, the lessons and moving forward. So if you guys are looking to flip, what I've learned is one, have a contingency plan for everything. Rehab budget needs a contingency plan. The only thing I would say is don't ever force a deal. There's a lot of people that I coach now that they're like, I want a deal now. Like, I'm going to buy this thing, and like, don't buy it. Like, as soon as you buy it at the wrong price, you've tied yourself up and you cannot get out of it unless you sell it. And then if you can't sell it, then you have a whole nother ocean of issues that you're going to go through. So pad your budget. Don't ever force a deal. Don't emotionally buy anything. It never works out. Even though I took all of these L's, you could say, in all of these projects, they all ended up good. I'm not going to deviate from real estate. There's some people that will take an L like that and they'll just be like, I'm never doing real estate ever again. I'm going to go to my 9 to 5 and knit this quilt or whatever and never come back. And I don't believe that. If you learn a lesson like that, you need to take it and turn it into something so that you're better, you perform better in the future. So don't buy them too high. Don't be stingy on your rehab budget. Now I overestimate all my rehab budgets with contingency plans. Don't ever be married to that 3-month promise that the GCs give you because they never perform. I always if it happens in 3 months, yay. And if it takes 6 months, well, I knew that was going to happen. Also to scale. If you want to scale and do more than one at a time, it's very difficult to use all of your own money all the time on every project. Find private money partners. As soon as you do 1 or 2 and you show some reps, people will come to you and be like, hey, I want in on your next project. And I used to tell people no all the time. I want to do it with my own money. I want to do this, that, yada, yada. And realistically, you cannot do more than 1 at a time without that. What else did I learn? If you have good bones or structure for these deals, you can really do them in any market. So I flip here, I flip in Arizona. I started wholesaling in Ohio. I have a rental in Alabama that is a crazy cash flower. So depending on what you're looking for and I guess your goals, you can really do it anywhere. You just got to learn the spots that you're investing in. And yeah, even if you have your whole life, you'll still be alive at the end of it. You still got people that'll learn from you, and then you can share the story and not hide under a rock. And that's it. So that's all my social media stuff. And if you'd like to follow me, also I help a lot of people do strategy calls. So or you get a free strategy call. I should get that's the words that were supposed to come out. I help a lot of people. So depending on where you are in your journey, if you have a 9 to 5 but you want a cash flowing property, we can set up a call so that you know whether it's here or wherever, Alabama, Ohio, anywhere, what to look for, how to run the numbers, how to find the cash flow, how to fund it, what people if I have people that you need, I'll give them to you. If it's cash flow, if it's a flip, if it's a house hack, like we're working on a house hack right now. This nice, sweet, freshy, the cameraman is about to buy his first house and he's going to use Pad Split to rent it out. So I am fully invested in other people getting into this and changing their lives. And that's what the strategy calls for. So wherever you're starting at, we can make you a little plan to get you where you need to be. Yeah.